Dr. Mel again. Busy with forces. So we did up and down forces, vertical forces, and we did horizontal forces. And now we're going to look at frictional forces. So it's very important that you maybe have a look at this clip twice or three times, because some of the calculations that will follow in the next section with Newton will rely on some of the theory that we're doing with friction. Now, friction is something working against movement. It's something like a mother-in-law. Now, whilst you're at school, you haven't got a cooking clue what a mother-in-law does. But we as elderly married people will know that there's always resistance. What you do will be the opposite that she will want you to do. So let's move on. I'm pulling a weight. Do you see? I'm pulling that mass, and obviously there's a gravity force. This is the surface. Can you see? It's something like rubber. It is resisting the movement. So the frictional force is still a force, therefore it's a vector. It is always in the opposite direction of movement. If this block is moving that way, friction will be moving that way. If this block is moving that way, friction will be moving in that way. So it's always opposite. And then, very important, it depends what the surface is. So, if you've got glass or you've got a very smooth surface, the friction will be less. But as soon as you've got something like, for instance, rubber or an uneven surface, that will change the friction. Remember, surface depends what the friction will be. Another fact of friction is that it's a contact force. You know we did contact and non-contact forces. They have to be touching each other. So you'll only have friction when these two are in touch with each other. And then we actually have friction there. Do you see that small little f? So the capital F says it's force, but the little f says it's friction. Remember the other forces that we named. We said this is gravity, and we said that is normal. And now we've got friction. And the unit, as all the forces, is exactly the same unit, Newton. Be careful that you do not think that this is a different force. Right, let's carry on. If I've got an applied force pushing this car, the direction of movement will be to my left. Let's say that's in the positive direction. Can you think what the friction's direction will be? The frictional force of the surface will be in that direction. So I've got the friction in the opposite direction than the movement, which is caused by the applied force. It's a contact force, I said it, that needs to be in contact. And you'll always have the frictional force against the movement. Vectors, guys, when we work with vector, we need to know the direction. We said it over and over again. Right, let's carry on. I've got the applied force. This guy's pushing this car. And I've got the frictional force, which is working towards there. Do you see, if this is, let's say, 600 Newton, and this is 800 Newton, can you see it moving? Certainly not, because that's not big enough. So what we have here is that this frictional force will have to be, and we say, overcome. So if I add another 200, I've got a balance force, the 8 and the 800. If this is, however, 300, then I actually have 900 newtons that's exerted to that side and 800 to this, and now this car will start moving. So if you want to push a car, the best thing is get a friend that's strong and big and can help you push this car so that you can actually overcome. That's the word we use, overcome the friction. Now, there's two types of friction. We've got static friction. Now, what is something that's static? It's not moving. Static friction is when an object is in a resting position and it is increasing until it starts moving. So that's important. Static friction will increase as you push the car until it moves. So it's resisting and it's increasing all the time. On the other hand, so static is in rest. If something is moving, now I quickly want to spend a second to tell you why do we call moving objects kinetic. If you recall, you have the word kine. Now we use the word cinema. And that is stemming from kine. And cinema is movies. You know that. And movies comes from moving pictures. So in all cases in physics, the word kinetic energy, and in this term, kinetic friction will be when it's moving. And important, the next slide will show you, the static friction, when it's in rest, increases. You push the car and this friction increases. Where when it moves, it stays constant because it's now moving on that surface and now it stays exactly the same. So what do we know about friction? We've got static friction and we've got kinetic friction. Now, they went and they did lots of calculations to actually determine the friction of different surfaces. And the way they could do it is by finding the coefficient of friction. This is the Greek letter mu, and that letter signifies the coefficient of friction. And when it's static friction, it is mu s, and when it's kinetic, it is mu k. So make sure that you know the coefficient. When it's got an s, it's static, and that already indicates to you it's static, it's not moving. When they give you a value or they ask you to calculate the kinetic coefficient, then you know it is moving. Again, there is no unit because you'll see just now it's a relationship. Important, it actually gives me some indication of either the roughness or the resistance. So the resistance that a surface actually exerts will give me a sense of the coefficient of friction. There's a calculation which we can do when we've got the equation. And when you've got your answering or your information sheet, this equation will be on your information sheet. What does it say? It says the frictional force is proportional to the normal. Now, can you recall what the normal force was? It was from the surface upward. And as you see, if this is giving greater resistance, that normal will increase. So it's directly proportional. And the equations, the two equations that you'll be able to calculate the frictional force will either be with the kinetic coefficient or with the static coefficient. And in both cases, you'll have to be able to work with the normal. So in a later section, we'll be actually calculating the normal. But for now, the normal multiplied with the coefficient will give you the answer for the frictional force. They actually drew graphs with this. Now, if I've got the static, remember what we said just now? It increases. So if I've got the normal force here, as the static is on this y-axis, you will see as the static increases, the normal will be proportional. So the normal will be proportional to the static frictional force. What happens? And that with that, I can actually work out the coefficient of friction. How do I work it out? I actually get the gradient. So how do we get the gradient? Remember what we did with graphs? We said it's the change in the y values over the change in the x values. Now, in this case, it will be the change in the frictional force, static, over the normal. So I can actually work out the coefficient of friction. Exactly the same with kinetic friction. I've got kinetic friction on my y-axis and I've got the normal there. And I can actually calculate the kinetic friction with the gradient. When we have both these coefficients in a graph, have a look at this. We said the static friction will increase until it starts moving. And at that point, we say that is the maximum friction. And as soon as it starts moving, it will stay constant. And it is actually a fact. If you push a car, for instance, as soon as it starts moving, you don't have to use so much energy and force to get it going, and then it remains exactly the same. The coefficient is smaller when there's less resistance. That makes sense. It's greater if there's more resistance or more friction. And I took three values of static and kinetic. For instance, when glass moves on glass, can you see it's different when it's static and when it's kinetic? You don't have to know these values. This is just an indication to show you what the coefficient is. Aluminium on ice and ice on ice. Now, interesting, when we do ice skating or we do skiing on ice, there's very, very little resistance. It's almost frictionless. And therefore, if you do skate with that blades or you do a slope, you're going down a slope with skis, it's enormous velocities that you actually have because there's no friction keeping you back. And many people have been injured quite often by not using the right techniques. Right, so that's for ice. If I have static friction, no, the friction is smaller than the normal and it will increase. And when I've got kinetic friction, the friction will be exactly the same as the coefficient of kinetic with the normal force. You will be provided with the two equations. You just need to apply those two equations to the situation. So if I want to calculate the friction, I need to know, I'm just going to write it down again. I need to know the coefficient. If this is static, I'm calculating the static friction. If this is kinetic, I'm working out the kinetic friction. And remember, I multiplied both of them with the normal force. An example, a block of wood weighing 32 newtons. So they already calculated the Fg. You don't even have to do it. Is placed on a rough. Now, as soon as you see rough, you know there's going to be friction. Flat incline and a rope is tied to it. The tension in the rope can be increased to 8. So what I have here is I've got a block. The weight of this block is 32 Newton, and you know that's Fg. On it is a rope. So I've got this rope pulling on it, and it's flat. You saw, it's flat. This rope will break if it's more than 8. That's before the block starts. A force of 4 Newton will keep the block moving. So to get this block, it's like the car, to move, I need to exert 8 Newton. As soon as it's moving, I can just apply 4 Newton and then it'll move at a constant speed. The question they asked me, determine the coefficients of static and kinetic friction. I'm firstly going to draw my diagram. I've got this block. I've got 32 newtons as the weight, which is the Fg. Remember, I've got a surface. So I've got that surface there. It's touching. And if I have a surface, you know by now, I also have a normal force. Now, if this block is lying there, exactly there now, what will the normal force be? Well, it will be exactly the same as the downward force. So that will also be 32 Newton because it's just lying there. They said to me, you are pulling it with a 8 Newton. And after it started moving with a 4 Newton. So this 8 Newton will be the static and the 4 will be the kinetic. What did they ask me? To calculate the two coefficients. Now let's go ahead and do the static one. The equation is this. It is static. It is the normal. Have you got values for this equation? Let's quickly see. I've got 32 as my normal there. And I've got the friction because they are pulling it with 8 Newton. What will the static coefficient be? So you can calculate that, and I got 0.25. Remember, no unit. It is a relationship. It's a relationship of 8 over 32, as we showed you in the graph. Let's go to the second one. We want to calculate the kinetic coefficient. My equation will be, my kinetic friction will be the coefficient times the normal. It's now the 4 newtons. It is again the coefficient, and I'm now using the same normal. The coefficient will be a relationship of 4 over 32, which will give me an answer of 0.125. Remember what we found now. We found this value to be 0.25, and that coincides with what we said. It will increase and it's more, and as soon as it starts moving, the coefficient is less. Finally, just bear in mind, and you will be doing this when you do vertical projection, that we also have air resistance, for instance. So if this parachute is going down, the air molecules will actually keep it in the air. A contact force again, and that will also be friction. But we aren't concerned to do calculations with that. I'm just actually stimulating some thoughts so that you know all the movement needn't be on horizontal planes. It can also be vertically. Let's see what you should be able to do now. Differentiate firstly between static. I'm going to repeat it again. Static, still. It's not moving. And kinetic, moving. You have to be able to identify the normal force. Remember, if it's up, it will be the same as the Fg. And the type of friction, finally, you've got to be able to work out the static or the kinetic coefficient from a graph or with your equations. I hope you can actually have a look at this again and again, because you will be asked to apply this. Not only now, but even when we do momentum and we do Newton's laws. So have a look at these, work accurately, and think about friction whenever you see movement. Bye-bye.